start at the top of our mats in our mountain pose. Let's place those feet underneath our hips. Big shoulder roll to release, shoulders back and down, palms facing forward as we soften and close our eyes. We're first going to bring awareness to the breath, to our inhales and our exhales. As we feel grounded and rooted into our feet, let's find that place that is at the base of our big toe, the place that is at the base of our pinky toe, and then the center of our heel. As we work to ground through those 3 points on each foot, slightly lifting up through our arches, encouraging a little bit more tall posture and full body strength and elongation. As we first just become aware of the sound of our breath, the stability in our bodies, working to quiet the mind. As we now start to flow with our breath, with our next inhale breath, we'll raise our arms all the way up to the sky, letting our palms meet and hands come to heart center. Again, inhaling to rise, reaching, elongating the whole body. Exhaling, again, hands coming to heart center. We'll take a couple more circle sweeping flows of the arms. And with eyes either open or gently closed, we're going to begin to flow in and out of our chair pose. Again, inhaling to raise the arms up to the sky. Let's sink down into our legs, hips drawing down and back. Again, our hands can come to heart center, or if we'd like more range of motion for shoulders, maybe circle sweeping those arms out in front of us. Taking whatever option works best for us today as we work to warm up through shoulders, warming up through hips. We'll take one more circle sweeping flow. And then as we start to flow in and out of our forward fold with our inhale breath, we rise arms to sky. Exhaling to release, hinging at our hips, arms sweeping to sides and down towards the mat. Inhaling to rise back up. Exhaling to flow down. We'll continue to flow in and out of our forward fold a few times. As we take one more flow in and out of forward fold. Ultimately releasing down, holding at the bottom of our forward fold, growing heavy for just a moment, chin to chest. A gentle rock side to side like a ragdoll, elongating through the hips, the glutes, the spine. And as we settle weight back to center, let's come onto hands and knees. Knees drawing underneath our hips, wrists underneath our shoulders, into our all fours position. With a neutral spine, let's move through cat and cow, first arching through our backs into our cow pose, tucking at the tailbone, rounding and releasing into cat. Again, inhaling, drawing forward, shoulders down back, heart center forward. Exhale to round and release. We'll flow a few more times in each direction, just working on creating movement through the spine. Flow through one more time of each, first arching, and then rounding. We'll begin to flow in and out of our spinal balance. First starting at neutral spine, let's take the right arm, left leg opposite sides, inhaling away from center. Exhaling to bring hands and knees to mat. Let's switch to the other side again, inhaling, feeling length and stretch, fingertip to toes. Exhaling to come back in. Creating a combination of strength, coordination, and balance throughout the body. We'll flow one more time, balancing out each side. And as we come back to center, drawing hips to heels in our child's pose. As we melt those hips back, arms can extend forward, letting belly come to thighs. A little gentle rock side to side, checking back in with our bodies. As we flow through our modified vinyasa sequence, or modified half series, let's first flow into a kneeling plank, shoulders drawing down the spine, with strength in the upper body lowering halfway. Pressing back up, hips to heels in our child's pose. We'll continue to flow with the breath. Working to build strength, heat in the upper body. And we flow one more time at our own pace. Alternate releasing hips back to heels. As we take a deep inhale breath, let's lift up, finding our downward facing dog. Hips up to the sky. As we soften those knees, the body's like an inverted V, elongating through the torso, through the spine. We can alternate pedal push heels to the mat, pressing and holding one side, switching and pressing and holding the other side. Working to elongate through the calves and the back of the legs. As we let both heels press down towards the mat, let's lift up on a tiptoe, stretching through the bottom of the feet, letting those heels press back down. Again, inhaling to lift heels away. Exhale to release down. We'll flow through one more. And as we start to walk feet towards the top of the mat into forward fold. Holding here for a moment. Again, hanging heavy. Let's inhale and rise arms up to the sky. Bringing palms together, hands to heart center. Meeting in Tadasana, mountain pose. As we step to the long edge of the mat. Turning outward, feet are wide, knees and toes facing to corners. For moonflowers and sunflowers, let's first inhale, arms up and out. 5-pointed start, and then sink straight down, just like a squat. Elbows into sides, knees tracking to toes. As we continue to flow in and out of these moonflowers. Working to open up a little bit more through our hips, stretching through the legs. Flow through one more time. And then beginning to transition into our sunflowers as we are ready. With our arms to 5-point start, let's circle sweep arms underneath us. Slightly hinging from the hips, opens up a little bit more through the hips. And we'll flow one more time. And then as we ultimately inhale our arms overhead, bringing palms together and hands to heart center. Transitioning back into the top of our mats. For sun salutations, we're going to build our sequences. First inhaling, lifting arms overhead, extended mountain. Exhaling into a forward fold. As we take the right foot back, drawing the knee down to the mat, untucking back toes, inhaling and rising arms to sky. As we release our hands down to the mat, hips to heels in our child's pose. As we rest all the way back, arms extending forward, let's shift forward into kneeling plank. Lowering all the way down onto our bellies, elbows alongside the body. Heart centered forward for cobra. And as we press up and back, hips to heels in child's pose. Lifting our hips, let's step the right foot forward. Arms can rise to the sky. Exhaling, releasing down. Let's meet back into forward fold. With an inhale, arms raising, reaching to sky. Inhale, deep breath. Exhaling to flow through chair. Now for full sun salutations, releasing down into forward fold. Let's take the left foot back. This time high lunge. Knee away from the mat as we lift heart center, arms to sky. Let's release our hands down, finding downward facing dog. Hips all the way up and back. As we shift forward into a plank, let's come more forward into toes. Lowering halfway, inhaling upward facing dog. Tucking into downward facing dog. With our left foot stepping forward. Inhaling to lift arms to sky. With the release of our hands down, finding forward fold. Rising to an extended mountain. And flowing through chair. We're going to build upon that base sequence. Next time we flow down into forward fold, stepping the right foot back. With an inhale, arms up to the sky. As we release our hands down, let's plant the right palm. Left arm reaches to sky, twisting lunge, twisting towards the front knee. Releasing hands down to the mat, finding downward facing dog. With a shift forward into plank, lowering halfway, inhaling upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Right foot steps forward. We rise back into an extended or into a high lunge. Releasing, grounding left palm. Right arm reaches the sky, inhaling deep breath. Exhaling to release hand down, stepping into forward fold. With an inhale, rising arms to sky. Let's flow through chair. Coming back down into forward fold. This time the left foot steps back. Inhaling, arms up to the sky. Releasing down, grounding left palm, right arm to sky, twisting lunge. Now as we release from twisting lunge, front foot into air behind us, three-legged dog. Using strength of the glutes, keep hips mostly square. Downward facing dog. Flowing through a vinyasa. Now we take the left heel to sky. Stepping all the way through. Inhaling into high lunge. Releasing, planting right palm, left arm to sky, twisting lunge. As we release, stepping into forward fold. With arms rising to sky. Let's flow through chair. As we come back into forward fold again, adding on to that sequence. Right foot stepping back. Inhaling into a high lunge. Now as we release our palms, grounding right palm, holding it into our twisting lunge. As we transition out of this pose, we're going to take that lifted hand, left hand, dropping it to the inside part of the foot, transitioning open into warrior two stance, finding extended angle or side angle. Closing hands back down, shifting to lunge, front foot in air, three-legged dog. Returning to downward facing dog. Flowing through a vinyasa. With our right heel lifting to sky, let's bend and step through. Inhaling into a high lunge. Releasing down, grounding left palm, right arm reaches to sky. Inhaling deep breath, holding here for a moment, thinking about that transition. Lifted palm releases, pivoting open into warrior two stance, side angle or extended angle. Releasing back, finding lunge and forward fold. With an inhale, extended mountain. And flowing through chair. As we now come back into forward fold, one more time through the sequence, one more pose to add. We're going to step the right foot back. Inhaling, arms to sky. Let's release down, finding our twisting lunge. Grounding right palm, left fingertips reach, inhaling deep breath. Releasing, pivoting open, side angle, extended angle. Inhaling openness to the body. Exhale to release. Now we'll take that back foot, stepping forward into pyramid pose. Hands to mat or maybe thigh or shin. Staying here for a full breath sequence. With our hands to the mat, stepping to lunge, back foot back. Front foot in air, three-legged dog. Downward facing dog. Flowing through our vinyasa. With our right heel up to sky. Let's step all the way through. Inhaling into a high lunge. Lifting heart center, relaxing shoulders. Releasing, grounding left palm, right arm to sky, twisting lunge. We're going to release, opening into side angle or extended angle. Closing back to the mat. Shortening into pyramid pose. Again, hands to mat, or maybe to thigh or shin. Staying here for a full breath. With an inhale, our arms rise to sky. Flowing through chair. As we come back down into forward fold, holding, releasing chin to chest. Maybe a gentle rock side to side, tractioning through the spine, elongating glutes, hamstrings. We're going to step our right foot back, opening into warrior two. Back foot parallel to back edge of the mat as we rise up, making sure that our shoulders and hips are stacked, torsos turned towards the long edge of the mat. As we float arms out to shoulder height, gazing just past the tip of the middle finger, maybe deepening that bend of that front knee, coaxing in some more openness, length, both legs and hips. Inhaling into reverse warrior, lifting front palm to sky. Heart center lifting towards that lifted palm. Let's return back to warrior two. For triangle pose, straighten front leg, reaching all the way forward, and then ultimately tilting down. Hand onto our next position as we work to gaze upward towards that lifted palm. And soften through that front knee, releasing hands to the mat. Shifting to lunge, finding downward facing dog. Holding here, flowing through a vinyasa. And for other side, our right foot steps forward. We're going to open into our warrior two. Again, finding torso towards the long edge of the mat. Knee stacks over ankle. We want to make sure to engage the outside part of our glutes, almost like a spiraling outward motion. Maintaining that knee alignment. Inhaling into reverse warrior. Backhand light to back thigh, heart center reaching towards the lifted palm. Come back into warrior two. Let's straighten that front leg. Triangle pose, reaching all the way forward and tilting down. With that long straight line, fingertip to fingertip through the shoulders. The body completely open as if we had a wall or pane of glass behind us. We could rest the back of our head, the shoulders, the glutes, all against this pane. We soften through that front knee. Let's release our hands to the mat, finding downward facing dog. Again, holding downward facing dog or flowing through a vinyasa. Our choice, always. Opportunity to do what would be best for our bodies in the practice. As we start to add some weight into our sequences, we're going to first step the left foot forward. Prior to rising, let's ground that back heel to warrior one stance. Finding our dumbbells, one in each hand. We first rise up, making sure we have our lower body set. Again, that back foot's grounded into warrior one stance. Front knee forward, chest is reaching forward. From here, adding on some standard bicep curls. Exhaling to lift hands up. Inhaling to lower down. So we're moving nice and slowly with the breath. I'm going to find just two more. And our last one. This opens us up into our warrior two, turning to face towards the long edge. Widening stance. Back foot parallel to back edge, front toes forward. We're going to add an overhead press. So as we work to square shoulders to the long edge of the mat, we're going to lift arms, stacking. And from here, pressing overhead. Exhaling, inhaling to lower down. Let's make sure to maintain that bend of that front knee. Eye gaze is wherever's comfortable. We'll find one more flow. From here, reverse warrior. We'll take that back hand down to back thigh. Front arm punches up to the ceiling. Stabilize with the shoulder. Drawing little bit more strength into the core center. We'll ultimately release, coming forward and down into triangle pose. We're going to take that lifted arm down in front of us. Adding in some rotation, we're going to pull up and then press to sky. Pull in and release down. Again, pull up, rotate, press upwards. Release in and rotate downwards. Making sure to breathe. And we're going to do one more. Holding here just for a moment. Releasing down, pivoting, planting your weights, finding downward facing dog. In our downward facing dog, we can hold or we can flow through a vinyasa. This is our choice, as always. More strength and heat building if we'd like, or just maintaining that downward facing dog. From our downward facing dog, let's step the right foot forward. We're going to move into that warrior one stance, the other side, grounding, heel to 45. Then finding our weights as we rise up, rolling shoulders, stabilizing, setting our position. For this second side, we're going to add side raises, bending arms to 90. With our exhale, we lift elbows up just to shoulder height. Inhale to release back down. And our last one, releasing arms, we're going to open up into warrior two, adjusting that stance. Finding stance first, and then second time adding a different exercise. This time an upright row as we square to the long edge. With our exhale, we'll lift the elbows up. Inhale to release back down. We want to feel like we're almost making a reverse or upside down field goal post of the arms. Hands go outward so they stack underneath our elbows. And we'll find one more. From here, reverse warrior, lifting and punching front arm up to the sky, maintaining lower body strength. Again, as we relax shoulders from ears, seeing if we can draw more energy and intensity into the core center. Creating all the strength and stability in our arms from that place. As we also draw in and down, releasing into triangle pose, straightening front leg, tilting and hinging down, bringing that what would be lifted arm in front of us. Inhaling to draw up, exhale to press. And releasing back down. Again, press up, stabilize, release in, rotate down. So this is both torso and arm strength. And as we ultimately lift and hold, stabilizing here in full triangle pose. Let's release that lifted arm, bending front knee, pivoting, planting weights down and finding our downward facing dog. Holding here or flowing through a vinyasa. Listening to what our bodies may need or want at this point. Is it more strengthening? Is it a little bit of rest? With our next exhale breath, walking, stepping, or jumping into forward fold. Feet coming underneath our hips. Hanging heavy for a moment. Taking a deep knee bend. And as we inhale, rising arms to sky. Let's bring those hands around behind us for a chest expansion. Interlacing fingertips, palms together, knuckles pressing down, lifting, elongating through the front of the body. As we release those fingertips, inhale, arms up to the sky. Releasing down into forward fold. We're going to find those weights. With a deep knee bend, let's rise up, sinking into chair pose. We're going to hold and stabilize here in chair. This is just like a squat. And we're going to add some pulses. So little pulses in the leg, building a little bit more heat and intensity. As we hold here, Option to stay or moving into our balancing chair, shifting weight to toes, lifting heels. And again, we have the option for little pulses in our balancing chair. Whatever kind of strength, intensity we'd like for our legs. And as we ultimately hold, letting heels come back down, adding tricep kickbacks, elbows will come up. Tucking elbows in from here, extending arms behind us, exhaling a breath, inhale to draw back in, exhale to press away. How are those legs feeling? A few more here. Just 2 more. And last one. Releasing arms down, hinging into forward fold. Weights on either side of the mat, stepping back into a plank. Holding here in plank. And downward facing dog. Downward facing dog to hold or flowing through a vinyasa, taking this opportunity again to listen to the body. Once you're back into downward facing dog, let's step the right foot forward to the top of the mat. Adding on some work for the back, making sure feet are hip distance apart in our long lunge stance. We're going to find our dumbbells, rising up to lunge. From here, bending front knee more, sinking hips, hinging forward, adding on a reverse fly, squeezing open the arms and releasing back down, palms face towards the center. We want to shift the weight forward such that that knee is over front ankle. Last one. We're going to shift all of our weight onto the front foot. Tripod. Or it would be like a single leg deadlift. We can stay here or add little pulses of that front leg. And ultimately holding, let's drop that back toe down. Weights will come down, front foot into air behind us, 3-legged dog. Taking a moment for a counter stretch. Moving to downward facing dog, holding or flowing through a vinyasa. As we now step the left foot forward. Again, lunge stance, feet hip distance apart. Finding our weights rising up to set the shoulders down the back. Engage the core strong. Hinging back forward, this time palms face us. Making this a wide row. Exhaling to pull up. Inhaling to release down. And one last one. Standing all the way on that front leg. Staying here to stabilize, or if we like those little pulses, little bend, little extend. Let's release back into lunge, finding our 3-legged dog. Heel up to sky. Taking a moment, feet to mat. Knees will come down, hips to heels in child's pose. Taking a deep breath into the back. We're going to take a moment to play around with some advances to our plank pose. One will be an upper body advancement where we're going to do an alternating shoulder touch. The other one will be lower body advancement, which is like a cross mountain climber, so knee to opposite elbow. And we go slowly with the breath. So let's first come into plank pose, knees or toes. With our exhale, bring knee underneath towards the opposite elbow. They don't need to touch, it's just the direction you're going. We're working to maintain neutral spine. Let's do one more on each side. Holding here. Now adding upper body. Hand to opposite shoulder and release. Let's take those feet wider than hips to help stabilize so that our hips don't move side to side. And as we also release child's pose, heels deep. Inhale, breath into the back. Exhale, let it all out. As we tuck and lift into our downward facing dog, we're going to step the right foot forward, bringing one or both of your weights with you. We're going to pivot and open into the same position as we did for moonflowers and sunflowers. We're going to add on to sun pose. So let's first get those foot position, knees and toes to corners, feet wide. Weights can come in front, whether we have one or two. Let's sink down into our legs. Holding here, we're going to add some rotation to the body. First twisting to one side, coming to center, twisting to the other side, coming to center. Using the obliques on the side of the body. Let's do one more each way. Now, holding just to the one side, the first side, and we're going to go little pulses, pulse, pulse, pulse. And now to the other side. Last one. From center, both arms extend up and out, 5-pointed star. We bring those arms in, turn toes to face long edge of mat. Strengthen our core center. Let's hinge forward. We can release the weights down to the mat. Hands can find the mat. Hanging heavy, stretching the back of the legs. Deep inhale and exhale breath. So we lift up onto our fingertips. Let's walk ourselves to the top of the mat. With or without the weights. I'm going to go without on the weights today, but if you're more than welcome to hold the weights if you want a little additional work. We're going to rise ourselves up just like a lunge pose. If we're holding our weights, our arms can be straight. If we're not, we can have our arms straight or hands on hips. And we're going to do a traditional group fitness 90-90 bent knee lunge. So as we lift up onto the back toes, feet are hip distance apart, like we're on some railroad tracks. Let's bend that bottom knee and reach back up. We have two more. And our last one. And now we're going to hold on the bottom. We're going to hold here, hovering that back knee away from the mat. Rise up, stepping to top of the mat. That leg we were just working, we're going to do a standard quad stretch. We call this our modified dancer. Engaging the glute to open up through the front of the hip. Knee will extend down towards the mat. As you release both feet down, we'll do the same on the other side. Stepping back to that long lunge stance, feet hip distance apart. Either with weights or hands on hips. We're going to bend that back knee down and rise back up. Last one, we go to the bottom and hold, hovering that knee off the mat. Now as we rise up, stepping to the top of the mat, finding our quad stretch. Heel towards the glutes, rising up nice and tall through the posture. We release our feet back down. Let's come to the top of our mat for standing balance pigeon. We want both feet underneath our hips. We're going to shift a little bit more weight to the right foot. As we lift the left, crossing across and sinking down. Hands can come to heart center. We want this lifted knee to spiral outward and downward towards the mat. We can find a focal point on the ground in front of us, sinking a little deeper and trying to keep those hips squared towards the top. As we slowly release back up, reestablishing base into the other foot, lifting and crossing across. Again, sinking down just like chair pose, hips going down and back. Hands to heart center. Let's see if we can coax our hips to go a little deeper into the pose. This is nice. It's one of my favorite poses because not only do you get to challenge the balance aspect, but it's also a pretty nice stretch for the hip. It's like 2 birds with 1 stone. As we release back to tall mountain posture. Inhaling, arms up to the sky. Let's release down into a forward fold. Making our way onto our bellies, we'll step back. Come all the way down. We're going to turn our heads to one side, letting arms rest alongside the body. We can soften and close our eyes. This is a nice little opportunity to release tension from the back, from the spine. Letting the body be heavy and supported by the mat. Let's turn our heads the opposite direction for even stretch of the neck. As we turn our eye gaze back forward, tucking chin, rolling shoulders, letting palms face towards the body. Moving into locust by inhaling, heart center away from the mat. Continuing to hug those palms in towards the body. We can stay here or add the legs lifting for more lower body activation. Feeling a lift in the body and also a lengthening. Crown of head forward, toes are pointing back. Feeling every muscle on the back side of the body engaged. As we release all the way down, hands underneath shoulders, moving into our child's pose as counter stretch, hips back to our heels, arms extending forward. Deep inhales and exhales. And slowly begin to rise up, and we're going to find seated on our mats. Legs can sweep around in front. We also need to find one of our dumbbells. As we sit nice and tall, let's find that one weight, drawing in front of us, coming to the back part of our sits bones, just like boat pose, but we're going to do modified boat with our heels and feet light onto the mats. Holding our weight, we're going to rotate and twist to one side, coming back to center, rotating and twisting on the other side. We can use our breath, where we exhale to twist, inhale to recome to center. Let's do one more time on each side. And as we alternate return to center, releasing weights down, incline plank with our legs extended long, hands will come behind us. We want to point our toes, inner thighs draw together, softening the knees. With the strength of the back side of the body, lifting hips away from the mat, chin can tuck or eye gaze can lift. Using the strength of the back side to open up through the front side. As we slowly drop our hips back down to the mats. Let's take our right leg extending in front of us for single leg stretch. Rotating shoulders to face towards that extended leg. We inhale, deep breath. Exhale to begin to hinge forward. Hands can rest on thigh, ankle, shin, maybe to the foot. Really wherever the reach is accessible to us today. Use this opportunity to stretch out through the back of the leg. Deep inhale, breath into the back. We're going to switch to the other side. This time the left leg extending out, squaring up again, inhaling deep breath here. Exhale to begin to hinge forward. we slowly begin to rise up on this side, we're going to make our way supine on our backs. So as we draw both knees in, hands behind the thighs, a gentle rock side to side. Let's move into our hip opener of dead bug, also known as happy baby. Let's take those knees wide. We can stay here in wide leg, knees to chest, or if we like, placing hands on the bottom of feet, letting heels press up to the sky as we add dynamic tension through our arms, those knees pressing outward. As we slowly release our feet back down to the mat, hip distance apart. Our bridge pose, our shoulder blades slide underneath us. Let's press into heels, lifting hips to sky. We can walk up higher onto our shoulders. And as the hips lift, the knees are extending away from the shoulders. With the release of our hips back down to the mat, counter stretch, knees into chest, just for a moment. Where we then move into supine spinal twist, our left leg will extend on the mat. Let's shift our hips, taking the right knee across the body. Feeling a wringing of tension out from the spine. Our hips to center, let's shift and do the other side, taking the right leg extended, shifting hips, left knee across the body. Taking some deep inhale and exhale breath. Again, just trying to release any tension we may be holding in the low back or throughout the spine. You can relax the arms and the legs. Ultimately come back onto our backs, re-squaring our hips. We're going to find some yogi crunches, hands coming behind the head, elbows go wide. Let's tuck the chin towards the chest, elongating back of the neck. With an inhale breath, we engage the core. With exhale, we lift the heart center away from the mat. Inhale to lower back down. We continue to flow with the breath. If we'd like, staying here with standard yogi crunches, or if we'd like, adding in any of our group fitness options, whether that be a double crunch, maybe we want to do a bicycle crunch, maybe we want to work just on some leg lowers and lifts, any sort of ab exercises that we would like to do. Now is the opportunity to bring a little bit more activation into our core center. How about finding one or two more to balance out the body? And once we finish our last repetition, full body stretch. Legs extend, arms extend. Inhaling, deep breath. Lengthening and reaching fingertips and toes away from each other. Let's also bring our arms in alongside the body, taking a moment here to find relaxation. Letting our breath return to normal. No control of the breath, just easy breath. The body is heavy, relaxed. to become a little bit more aware of the breath. Some gentle movement in the body, wiggling fingertips and toes, or rolling wrists and ankles. Maybe we draw knees to chest, hugging them in, making the body like a little ball. And as we feel ready, let's slowly make our way to a seated place on the mats. We can roll to one side, pressing ourselves up. And as we ultimately come to that seated place, sitting tall with our eyes soft and closed, hands onto our knees, taking a shoulder roll, as we melt into this place of silence and stillness. As we bring our hands to heart center, what we call our Anjali Mudra, our symbol of gratitude. With our inhale breaths, breathing in love and gratitude for ourselves. With our exhale breath, breathing love and gratitude for all others.